Imagine trying to tell the epic tale of creation, a saga of gods battling titans, or the heroic journey of a demigod without the ability to write it down. How would these powerful myths, the very bedrock of cultures, survive across generations? Before keyboards and screens, before even pens and paper, humanity faced this very challenge. Myths, our oldest stories, were initially whispered narratives, vulnerable to distortion and loss with each retelling. The evolution of writing was not just about practicality. It was about preserving our collective memory, our deepest held beliefs, and the fantastical stories that explained our world. Think of the ancient tablets etched with cuneiform, recounting Mesopotamian myths of creation and flood, or the Egyptian papyri adorned with hieroglyphs, narrating the journeys of pharaohs and the pantheon of gods. These weren't just administrative records. They were the vessels carrying the very soul of civilizations. Discover how the drive to record and share these monumental stories, these myths that define entire societies, fuel the incredible transformation from simple symbols to complex alphabets. Uncover the ingenuity and the sheer necessity that pushed our ancestors to develop systems capable of capturing not just daily transactions, but the grand narratives that shaped their understanding of existence. Explore the fascinating link between myth and script, and understand how the need to immortalize these powerful stories became a catalyst for one of humanity's most transformative inventions. Prepare to journey back through time and witness how the evolution of writing allowed myths to transcend generations, shaping our cultures and influencing our world even today. Before writing, myths lived solely in memory and spoken word. Imagine the responsibility resting on storytellers, tasked with accurately recounting complex narratives across generations. Details would inevitably shift, characters could morph, and entire storylines risk being lost or fragmented. The very essence of a myth, its power to explain the world and bind communities, was vulnerable to the fluidity of oral transmission. This inherent instability posed a significant challenge for societies deeply rooted in their mythological traditions. How could you ensure the integrity of sacred stories, the foundation of your cultural identity, when they existed only in fleeting words? Imagine trying to standardize religious practices or legal precedents based on stories passed down by word of mouth alone. Chaos and inconsistencies would be inevitable. The advent of writing offered a revolutionary solution to this fundamental problem. By transitioning myths from spoken word to written form, humanity gained the power to fix narratives, to create a permanent record of their sacred stories. Suddenly, myths could become codified, studied, and disseminated with unprecedented accuracy and reach. Writing wasn't just a tool for administration. It became the ark that saved the vast and intricate world of mythology from the ravages of time and the limitations of memory. Understanding the evolution of writing, therefore, becomes crucial to grasping how mythology transformed from a fluid oral tradition to a fixed, studyable body of text. Exploring this evolution reveals not just the mechanics of writing systems, but also the profound impact writing had on the very nature and preservation of our most ancient and powerful stories. We will delve into how different writing systems arose to meet this very need and the incredible stories they have preserved for us. Dive deeper into the fascinating world where mythology and writing intertwine. Subscribe now to unlock more insights into this incredible evolution and become part of our community. Share your own connections between myths and writing in the comments, ask questions, and let your voice shape our exploration. Your engagement is truly valued and essential. To truly grasp the impact of writing on mythology, consider specific examples. Imagine trying to share the intricate details of the Greek creation myth, with its generations of gods and epic battles, purely through word of mouth. It's a daunting task, but with the advent of the Greek alphabet, these stories, once fluid and variable, were captured in text. Homer's epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, became standardized, their influence solidified and amplified across generations. Think of the Sumerian civilization. Their myths, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, weren't just stories. They were reflections of their worldview, their understanding of mortality, and heroism. Cuneiform script allowed these narratives to be inscribed on clay tablets, preserving them through millennia. Today, we can read Gilgamesh's quest for immortality thanks to this early writing system, directly experiencing the concerns and beliefs of a civilization long past. Similarly, Egyptian hieroglyphs, adorning temple walls and papyri, weren't merely decorative. They were the vehicle for transmitting the complex mythology of gods like Ra, Osiris, and Isis. The Book of the Dead, a guide for the afterlife, was written in hieroglyphs intended to ensure safe passage for the deceased. Writing made these crucial religious texts accessible to a wider audience and ensured their accurate transmission. By studying these written myths, whether in cuneiform, hieroglyphs, or the Greek alphabet, we gain direct access to the foundational beliefs of ancient cultures. We move beyond fragmented oral accounts and encounter the myths as they were intended to be understood, revealing the profound link between writing and the enduring power of mythology. In our rapidly changing digital age, where information and misinformation spread at lightning speed, understanding the power of narrative and its transmission has never been more crucial. Myths, the foundational stories of humanity, offer profound insights into how societies structure meaning, values, and identity. However, the way we encounter myths today is overwhelmingly through written texts. We often forget that these powerful narratives were initially oral traditions, fluid and adaptable. The critical gap lies in understanding how the very act of writing fundamentally altered mythology. When myths transition from spoken word to fixed script, they gain permanence, but also lost some of their inherent mutability and communal reinterpretation. This shift has profound implications for how we understand cultural heritage, religious texts, and even contemporary storytelling. In a world grappling with issues of cultural appropriation, the authenticity of narratives, and the impact of media on belief systems, grasping the evolution of writing and its influence on mythology provides essential context. Understanding this evolution now empowers us to critically examine the narratives that shape our world today. It allows us to appreciate the dynamism of oral traditions while also recognizing the lasting impact of written texts on cultural memory. By delving into how writing solidified and disseminated mythological narratives, we gain vital tools to navigate the complex landscape of information and storytelling in our own time, fostering a deeper and more nuanced understanding of both past and present. This understanding is no longer just academic. It is a crucial skill for informed and engaged citizenship in the 21st century. To understand how writing revolutionized mythology, we must first grasp the limitations of oral tradition. Before writing, myths were transmitted verbally, generation after generation. Imagine relying solely on memory to preserve the intricate details of creation stories, heroic sagas, or complex pantheons. How accurate could these retellings remain over centuries? Oral myths were inherently fluid. Each storyteller, while aiming for faithfulness, inevitably introduced variations, interpretations, and omissions. Myths adapted to changing societal needs and local contexts, resulting in a rich tapestry of versions and regional variations. While this dynamism kept myths alive and relevant, it also presented a challenge for maintaining a standardized, authoritative version. Consider the sheer volume of information in any mythology: genealogies of gods, complex cosmologies, moral codes embedded in stories. All of this had to be memorized and accurately recounted. The risk of distortion and loss was ever present. Think of a game of telephone. Messages changed dramatically with each retelling. Oral myths faced a similar challenge, albeit over much longer timescales. The advent of writing offered a solution. Early writing systems, like pictograms, allowed for visual representation of stories. Imagine a series of drawings depicting key events from a myth. While not as detailed as a full narrative, these pictograms served as mnemonic devices, aiding memory and providing a more stable record than purely oral accounts. Visual aids depicting early pictograms from cave paintings or ancient pottery would be useful here. Cuneiform and hieroglyphs took this further. These systems, incorporating both symbols for objects and sounds, enabled the recording of more detailed narratives. Suddenly, myths could be inscribed on clay tablets or papyri, creating a fixed, tangible form. Was this permanence a blessing or a curse for the ever-evolving nature of mythology? The answer, as we'll see, is complex. Applying our understanding of writing's evolution to mythology today offers rich possibilities. Consider studying ancient myths in their original written forms, learning cuneiform or hieroglyphs, even at a basic level, unlocks a deeper appreciation for the nuances and complexities of Mesopotamian or Egyptian mythology, moving beyond translated versions. Imagine reading a hymn to Inanna in its original cuneiform script, a direct connection to the past. For creative writers and storytellers, understanding the shift from oral to written myth allows for more informed and nuanced retellings. Recognizing the fluidity of oral myths can inspire new interpretations and adaptations, while respecting the solidified forms preserved in writing. This approach can lead to richer, more culturally sensitive engagements with mythological narratives. However, challenges exist. Written myths, while providing invaluable records, are still interpretations. They represent a snapshot in time, often reflecting the biases and perspectives of the scribes and cultures that produced them. We must be critical readers, acknowledging that written versions are not necessarily the original or authentic myths, as oral traditions were constantly evolving. To overcome this, we can employ comparative mythology, studying multiple written versions and fragments alongside any surviving oral traditions. Acknowledging the inherent limitations of written records and actively seeking diverse perspectives allows for a more complete and nuanced understanding of the ever-evolving world of mythology, bridging the gap between its oral past and written present. A pivotal example of writing's transformative power on mythology lies in the development of religious texts. Consider the Hebrew Bible. Initially rooted in oral traditions and diverse regional cults, these narratives and laws were gradually codified and standardized through writing over centuries. This process of textualization wasn't merely transcription. It was a selective and interpretive act. Competing traditions were streamlined, theological perspectives were solidified, and a canonical narrative of Israelite identity and faith emerged. The written Torah, for instance, became the definitive source, shaping religious practice and belief for millennia. Similarly, the creation of the Quran, dictated and then written down, marks a profound shift in Islamic tradition. Writing became integral to the very definition of the faith, preserving the divine word and establishing a fixed textual reference point for doctrine and law. These case studies highlight how writing wasn't simply a neutral recording tool. It became an active force, shaping, standardizing, and ultimately solidifying specific versions of mythology as authoritative and canonical. This textual fixation had immense consequences, influencing not only religious practice, but also social structures and power dynamics for centuries to come. Scholars like Jack Goody and Walter Ong, pioneers in literacy studies, argue that the very act of writing restructures thought and societal organization. Goody, in The Domestication of the Savage Mind, highlights how writing enables cumulative knowledge, critical analysis of text, and the development of formal logic, capabilities less readily available in purely oral cultures. This directly impacted mythology. Oral myths, as anthropologist Claude Levi-Strauss noted, are characterized by their floating nature, existing in multiple versions and adaptable to context. Writing, conversely, fixes a version, leading to standardization and canonization. The impact is evident in religious studies. Karen Armstrong, in A History of God, details how the Hebrew Bible's written form contributed to a more defined and monotheistic understanding of God compared to the potentially more diverse and fluid beliefs of earlier oral traditions. The written text became the authoritative source, shaping religious dogma and practice for Judaism, and subsequently influencing Christianity and Islam. This textual authority has had profound real-world consequences, shaping legal systems, moral codes, and cultural identities across vast populations for millennia. Furthermore, The work of classicist Eric Havelock emphasizes how the shift from oral to written Greek culture, with the adoption of the alphabet, facilitated a shift from myth-based learning to more abstract and analytical thinking. This transition arguably laid the groundwork for Western philosophy and science. Understanding this transformative power of writing on mythology is not just an academic exercise. It's crucial for interpreting ancient texts, understanding the evolution of religious and cultural traditions, and even critically analyzing how narratives are constructed and wielded in our contemporary world, where written and digital texts dominate communication. The implications are vast and deeply relevant to how we understand human history and culture. So, we were wondering, back in the oral tradition days, how did they even keep these massive mythologies straight? Imagine trying to remember the entire Greek pantheon, all those complicated family trees and epic adventures, just in your head. It's mind-blowing, right? And things were constantly changing as stories got retold. Well, writing came along and basically hit the pause button on that fluidity. Suddenly, you could nail down a version of a myth. Think about the Epic of Gilgamesh. We have clay tablets from like 4,000 years ago, telling basically the same story we read today in books. That's insane stability compared to relying on memory. Experts like Goody tell us writing lets you build up knowledge over generations, analyze texts, and think in a more structured way. Oral cultures were amazing, but writing definitely shifted how we process and preserve information. But does that mean written myths are better or more real? Not really. It just means they're different. Oral myths were alive, adaptable, changing with each telling and each community. Written myths, they become fixed points, almost like historical documents. They give us incredible insights into the past, but we gotta remember they are just one version, frozen in time, not the whole ever-evolving story. That fixed nature, though, is what allowed for things like religious canons and standardized narratives to emerge, which, as we've seen, changed the world big time. So, what have we learned about the amazing journey from symbols to alphabets and its impact on mythology? We've seen how writing transformed myths from living, breathing oral traditions into fixed, enduring texts. This wasn't just a change in format. It fundamentally altered how myths were preserved, interpreted, and understood. Writing gave myths permanence, standardization, and authority in a way that oral traditions simply couldn't. Understanding this evolution offers incredible benefits. By recognizing the influence of writing on mythology, we can approach ancient texts with a more nuanced and critical eye. We can appreciate the incredible dynamism of oral traditions while also valuing the insights gained from written records. This knowledge empowers us to delve deeper into the meanings and complexities of myths, understanding them not just as stories, but as products of a specific cultural and technological context. Ready to take the next step in your mythological journey? Start exploring written myths from different cultures. Dive into the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the Norse Eddas, all now accessible to us thanks to the evolution of writing. Compare different written versions and consider what might have been lost or gained in the transition from oral to written form. This exploration is just the beginning. Want to share your discoveries or ask more questions? Join the conversation in the comments below. Tell us which myths you're excited to explore in their written form and what questions this evolution sparks for you. Your curiosity and engagement are what keep this journey of discovery alive. Let's continue unraveling the fascinating connections between writing and mythology together. So, as we close this chapter on the evolution of writing and its profound dance with mythology, let's remember this. Every time we read a myth, etched in ancient script or printed in a modern book, we are connecting with a legacy thousands of years in the making. We are witnessing the echo of voices, once whispered around fires, now amplified across time thanks to the incredible power of writing. The evolution of writing wasn't just about creating a better way to keep records. It was about preserving the very soul of humanity. Our stories, our beliefs, our attempts to understand the cosmos. Myths, captured in writing, became time capsules, carrying the wisdom and wonder of past civilizations to our present. Let's continue to explore these written legacies, to decipher their messages, and to appreciate the extraordinary journey that brought us from simple symbols to the alphabets that now fill our world with stories. The story of writing is, in itself, an epic myth of human ingenuity, and it's a story that continues to be written every single day.